So I have been in marketing for the past 10 years. I've worked on the DTC and kind of product side of marketing pretty much the entire time. I was with a hydration and barware brand called Corksicle as one of their first employees and helped the brand establish their marketing strategy. And then last year in 2023, I started my own business, which is called Six House Marketing. We take a two-pronged approach to helping growth stage and pre-launch businesses figure out how to go to market and scale. We do a lot on the brand side. So brand positioning, identity, the fun visual stuff, figuring out product market fit. And then we also work on a more kind of strategic consulting side, helping those clients who are about to go to market figure out what they're going to do for launch. And then those that have already established a strategy, revamp their strategies so they can see continued growth.
You talked about Corksicle moving from agencies to in-house. Walk me through why you would do that. And then even some of the struggles that you guys went through as you were starting to in-house some of these positions.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you look at departments like customer service and when you're working with kind of smaller media buying agencies, the kind of size of those agencies sometimes can't really stay on pace with the growth that the company is experiencing. I would say from a customer service standpoint, they were outsourcing a lot of that to companies that bring in employees from other countries, which is fine and was good for them at the time. But they started experiencing this rapid growth. With that growth, they just decided they really needed to start laying the foundation for solid in-house hires who could really help grow and scale the team over time. They definitely were bringing back in different agencies as they continue to scale. So overnight success from some of these huge media companies, acknowledging their products and really doing a lot of PR for them. So it was a good problem to have, but that definitely one that they had to kind of solve over time and figure out which type of people would be the best fit long term.
Yeah, cool. Well, Morgan, let's get into what it's like 2024, what we're facing. Would you launch a brand in 2024, Morgan?
I would. I think it is possible for sure. And especially DTC has been a really interesting environment. So there's always going to be these challenges that are going to come into the space, especially as a lot of these big corporations work towards making privacy more of a priority. But I think there's still a lot of room for creativity when it comes to new products and brands. I think we're living in a day and age where there's so many niches. There's so many different ways that somebody can create a product and bring it to market. Those are bringing just a ton of opportunities. But when going back to kind of think through as the biggest issues, are number one, a lot of companies not taking the time to establish a true brand identity. But I can't really overstate the importance of making sure that you're finding your smallest viable market. You're finding those people who really will care the most about your product and you're really doing everything for them and creating a brand around that. So that's one problem I see.
What's the solve for that? How do people solve that problem when they're launching a brand?
I always challenge my clients, and part of my process when I'm going through these branding exercises, really, some of it is going to be based in assumption. Ultimately, if you don't have an existing proof of concept, you're going to have to spend some of your time figuring out product market fit and all of that. But people tend to think about their audiences as like a little bit too big. The vision's too big. And what brands should be asking themselves more is who are the 1,000 people that can benefit by what I'm doing? What's that smallest viable market look like? What's the emotional territory that we want to occupy in their mind? How does what we're creating and making provide them with the best possible solution for their unique problem? And then where are they spending time and how can we kind of reach them? So it's a lot of intuition, but also it's solving a true problem, bringing a product to market and saying, this is the community that I want to serve. And this is how my product solves this problem better than anything else. And again, really starting small and making it approachable versus this long-term huge brand vision is a good way to get started.
Yeah, awesome. So the first thing is that brands just don't actually know their customers. And so figuring that out, what's the next step that you take?
So I think like really taking a step back, and after you spend time establishing that product market fit, if your goal is acquisition, obviously when you're starting out, figure out how to do the one thing really, really well where your customers already are. So meet them where they are. If that's building out an organic community on a channel like TikTok or Instagram and building a following there, put a lot of time and resources into doing that really well. If it's running meta ads, same kind of thing. Put all of your effort into developing really cool UGC creative that's going to perform well on those platforms. So that's another thing I see for sure. It's just people trying to focus on too much, and then as a result, not really having a lot of focus on any one discipline or area.
Yeah. Morgan, what's your next recommendation?
I think it's really important when you are just starting out in establishing product market fit, knowing that you can make 100 in-person sales before you start paying for customers. So work on selling your smallest viable market that you've identified and gather as much feedback about your product as you can in the process. So try to get insight on all the rejections too, not just the things that are going well. Were people objecting to your product because it was too expensive? Were they not finding it relevant? Did it not solve enough of a problem for them or is their need? Was it not special enough? If you can't close 100 sales in real life, you probably aren't going to have much success when you go to look at things like Meta for acquisition.
That's
You're
a really good
eventually
point.
going to need to create a strategy around profitable customer acquisition. And you want to have all of the information that you can beforehand to be able to do this, really resonate with those people that you're trying to target the most. That's invaluable and something that you can really spend a lot of time doing when you're a small brand and not spending a ton into kind of more arbitrary market research, but really just finding those people and talking to them. And of course, if you have an e-commerce website already set up, directing them there to go and actually buy the product, but then giving you feedback on the web experience. Was it easy to purchase the product? Like, what was that experience? Yeah. Just gaining as much information from your target customer as you can in the beginning will save you a long road of pain in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Morgan, what's the next step after that?
So actually going out and figuring out if people are going to like your product, establishing brand awareness. When you establish market fit and you kind of have these steps of really talking to your audience, understanding who they are, how you're serving them, it's going to be a lot better to kind of start with demand generation channels because you're able to advertise and talk to people who are within your market already who are eligible to become buyers of yours and find your product useful. But yeah, they need to focus a lot on profitable customer acquisition, really focusing on demand capture when you are ready to start spending into acquisition is a good next step for brands who are just starting out.
Yeah.
So if you're spending all of your time on retention and really optimizing those channels and you're not doing enough on the acquisition side, then you're essentially going to run out of people to remarket to and bring back for additional purchases. So acquisition is retention fuel. You can't really have a good retention strategy without ongoing acquisition.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like to say is retention marketing. That's your product. If you have a shitty product, you're not going to get more customers, right? And so, yes, we can give them nudges, right? But if you have a crappy product, no one cares.